When my son knocked on my door every night, I thought he just needed comfort, but what he asked for changed everything. This isn't just another family story, it's my truth, the one I kept buried for decades. My name is Martha, and this is my confession. I never imagined my life would turn out like this. I was a mother, a wife, and later, a widow. My husband, Richard, passed away when I was 58. We'd been together for over 30 years. I thought losing him was the hardest thing I'd ever go through until I realized the storm that was about to hit me came from within my own home. He said he didn't want me to be alone. It sounded sweet, loving, the kind of gesture any mother would appreciate. I remember him standing in the doorway that first night, smiling softly. He looked so much like his father, it made my heart ache. His eyes carried the same calm warmth Richard had, and for a while, it comforted me. The house that once felt like an empty shell started feeling alive again. I cooked dinner, and Daniel would tell me stories about his work, his dreams, and his regrets. Some nights, he'd bring a bottle of wine, and we'd sit on the porch under the soft glow of the old yellow light, reminiscing about the past. He'd make me laugh again, something I hadn't done in months. But then, something changed. It started subtly. The long looks that lingered just a little too long, the quiet moments that hung in the air, the gentle brush of his hand when he'd hand me a glass or wipe a tear from my cheek. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was lonely, and my mind was twisting things. One night, Daniel knocked on my bedroom door. His voice was soft, almost trembling. "Mom, I can't sleep. Can I stay here for a bit?" he said. I hesitated but nodded. He laid beside me like he used to when he was a child, seeking comfort after nightmares. But now he was a grown man, and the air between us felt heavy, full of unspoken emotions. He told me he missed his father too much. He said he didn't know how to live without the family we once were. I held him close, trying to console him, but the lines between comfort and confusion started to blur. Every night after that, he came to my room. Every night, he asked me to talk to him, hold him, and listen as he poured out his heart. I loved my son, but not in the way that was starting to emerge. I began feeling guilty for even allowing him so close. I brushed it off, but inside, I was drowning in shame and confusion. What was I becoming? One evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. He looked at me, his eyes burning with frustration. "Mom," he said, "why do you keep pushing me away? You said you'd always be there for me." His voice cracked, part anger, part pain. I stood there frozen, unable to answer. I realized that grief had twisted both of us. We were clinging to each other, not out of love, but out of fear of being alone. I couldn't sleep that night. I walked into his room and found an old picture of him and Richard fishing at the lake. They were both smiling, pure innocent happiness. It hit me hard. I was betraying the memory of the man who built our home, who loved me unconditionally, and I was letting my son drown in emotional confusion. The next morning, I decided it had to end. I sat with Daniel at the kitchen table, where the sunlight barely reached through the curtains. My hands trembled as I held my coffee mug. "Daniel," I began softly, "we've both lost too much. But what we're doing, this isn't healing. It's hurting us." He looked at me, tears forming in his eyes. "I just didn't want to lose you too," he whispered. "I'm not gone," I said, "but we need help. We need to remember who we are, mother and son. Nothing more, nothing less." It wasn't easy. Daniel moved out a few weeks later. He said he needed space, and I agreed. The silence that filled the house afterward was unbearable, but I knew it was necessary. I started going to grief counseling. That's where I learned that sometimes grief can twist love into something unrecognizable. Pain can make people reach out in the wrong ways, and loneliness can make even the strongest hearts weak. Months passed before Daniel visited again. He looked healthier, calmer. We sat together in the same kitchen, but this time, there was peace between us. He apologized, and I forgave him, not because he asked for too much, but because I knew we were both victims of our own sorrow. Now, years later, I'm 75. I look back at that time and realize how fragile the human heart truly is. Love can heal, but it can also destroy when left untamed. When I tell this story, people often ask why I'm not ashamed to speak about it. The truth is, silence only makes wounds deeper. Speaking out, sharing pain, is how we cleanse the soul. So, if you've ever found yourself lost in loneliness, desperate for comfort, remember my story. Don't let grief rewrite the lines of love. It's okay to be weak, but it's never okay to lose yourself in someone else's shadow. And sometimes the hardest kind of love is letting go.